Good morning, everyone, and you're very welcome to the first launch event of our Science and Agriculture Virtual Career Series here at DKIT. We are delighted to have almac Group present this morning. And almac are no stranger to DKIT. They have supported DKIT on our face-to-face on-campus fairs over the years, and last year as the launch of our virtual career series, we're also part of that. So almac, as I say, are good friends of DKIT and have employed many of our graduates. So we're delighted to be able to invite them to share about their company, about the placement and graduate opportunities that they have. And joining us from almac today is Aaron McCauley. Aaron is talent acquisition with almac, and he's going to start off the presentation and also introduce the rest of his team. Like with all of our sessions, we really do encourage you to post any questions you have or any comments you want to make into the chat or questions function. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Aaron, who's going to introduce the rest of his team and take you through the presentation. So over to you, Aaron.
Hi, everybody, and welcome along here today. So as mentioned, my name is Aaron McKelly, and I'm a part of the talent acquisition team for almac. So today I'll be hosting from the almac side, and what I'll be doing more so is the overview of almac, a overview of the graduate and internship placement opportunities available, the actual process, how to apply, and then I'll hand over to my almac team members, and they'll get into the technical information on the two different departments, which is the technical quality and global quality. So today I'm joined by Ashley Nohanlon, who's a technical quality officer, Alistair Kells, who is a global quality systems manager, and then also Hazel Douglas, who is a global quality assurance manager. So I'll get straight into it, and we'll start off with a little overview of almac and who we are. So I will start off sharing a little video. So 3 minutes long. It's better than sitting here listening to me rhyme through what we do. So it's a nice little video. It gives you a really good overview of who we are and what we do. So it will play for maybe 3.5 minutes, and I will start that now.
As an established contract development and manufacturing organisation, we provide an extensive range of integrated services across the drug development lifecycle to the pharmaceutical and biotech sectors globally. Our innovative services include research and development, biomarker discovery development, API manufacture, formulation development, clinical trial supply and interactive response technology, along with commercial scale manufacture. With a global reputation for excellence, built over 50 years of client service, we deliver expertise right across the drug development lifecycle and offer a tailored solution to each of our clients. The almac Group is made up of a number of business units. almac Discovery is a research-driven oncology company dedicated to the discovery and development of novel and innovative approaches to the treatment of cancer. It operates in the discovery to preclinical space and is based at Queen's University, Belfast. almac Diagnostic Services is a precision medicine company focused on the discovery, development and commercialisation of companion diagnostic tests. almac Sciences helps pharmaceutical companies at early stage research and clinical trials development right through to making APIs for commercial use. almac Pharma Services offers outsourcing services to a global client base. The service remit covers formulation and development, client and commercial manufacturing, and packaging services for solid oral dose presentations. almac Clinical Services provides comprehensive global supply chain solutions in the marketplace, supporting the delivery of global clinical trials from protocol right through to patient delivery. almac Clinical Technologies provides industry-leading technology solutions and expert consultancy to proactively manage sites, patients and clinical supplies to ensure the effective running of clinical trials. Galen markets specialty pharmaceuticals across the UK, Europe, the USA and the Nordics. Galen's expertise lies in sales, marketing and launch excellence, market access, regulatory affairs, pharmacovigilance, and medical affairs supply chain and logistics. Through organic growth and acquisitions, Galen has established product sales in 23 countries. Central Services is a wide and diverse directorate that covers a range of professional disciplines and other support services such as human resources, health and safety, facilities management, engineering and information systems.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little introduction to almac. So now I will move on to our presentation, which I will share now. Let's show you the video again, of course. PDF. Yeah, it keeps popping up. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, can everybody see the screen okay, yeah?
Perfect, yeah.
Perfect, all right. So again, just a warm welcome along today. So as Catherine mentioned, any questions along the way, don't be afraid to pop them into the chat box, and we have a section at the end dedicated for Q&A for myself or any of the rest of the team. So just a warm welcome along today. So as mentioned, that's the overview of the business and who we are. I will now move on to some of the placement opportunities and graduate opportunities that we offer here at almac. So this is to give you an idea. It doesn't cover every single placement opportunity. They're growing every single year throughout the business. Some of the main ones would include analytical chemistry, technical quality, global quality, project management, operations, engineering, and IT. And then following on for that, below is an example of some of the actual live vacancies we have for graduates at the moment, which would include a quality compliance coordinators, clinical testing personnel, and lab analysts, and also proposals coordinators. So that's just to give you an idea of some of the placement opportunities available, and likewise some of the graduate opportunities once you've actually graduated as well. And where you can find all of these is on our website. So it's almacgroup.com/careers. It's easily found. The almac group website's in the chat box already. Click on there, click on careers. This is where we advertise all of our jobs, all of our placement opportunities, and all of the graduate opportunities as well. Okay, so what can almac offer you? Why would you want to do a placement with us? And then in turn, why would you want to actually go ahead and maybe start full-time employment in a graduate role later on? So one of the main things is it is the opportunity to help patients globally. I'm sure you're aware, we have had a lot of impact across the pandemic, and we've actually had the privilege and opportunity to be able to work on the clinical trials for the COVID-19 vaccine. As mentioned, that's kind of one of the really exciting projects we've had recently. A placement opportunity as well. One of the important things to note, a lot of students actually complete a placement, and before they finish up and go back to do their final year, they actually get offered a offer of permanent employment pending completion of their degree. So that's one of the huge benefits. Once you complete your placement year, there is an opportunity to go on and get an offer of a employment once you finish up. Career advancement and development. almac's growing every single year. Once you get your foot in the door, there's opportunities for progression. You get the chance to work with exceptional and passionate people. Again, everybody are in it for the right reasons. There's opportunities to grow and work with a really good team. And also as well, there's a good salary package on offer, and likewise the benefits as well, which we're adding to every year. Two important things as well is job security. You've probably seen recently as well that this year is probably one of our biggest years in terms of turnover. So we're a growing company, so the job security is there, and job satisfaction. It is somewhere where you come and people do tend to stay quite a while once they join almac. So that's kind of what we can offer you. Now, moving on to the almac recruitment process. So it's pretty straightforward. There's 5 main steps, and this is the exact same process if you're applying for a full-time job, a placement, or even just a graduate opportunity. So as mentioned, the placement or job is advertised on our almac group website in the career section. Application process, it normally involves a CV and application questions. Following that, then we complete our shortlisting process, which is against the essential and desirable criteria. Nowadays, obviously with the pandemic, the majority of interviews are done via video interview via Microsoft Teams, 1 round video interview, and then we would move to a job or placement offer. Following that, sort out the paperwork and off you go, you get started. So it's pretty straightforward. And as mentioned, it's really good practice. It'll be the same process for a placement opportunity and it will be for an actual job opportunity. We use all the same software, all of the same kind of tools along the way. So it's really good practice as well for moving into the real world after you graduate. So that's pretty much all from my side. Now I'm going to hand over to Ashlyn, who is going to take you through the technical quality side of things and what we can offer there.
Hiya, so I'll just start with telling you a bit about how I came to work in almac. So I was studying a degree in chemistry in Queen's University, Belfast, when I started as a placement student. So I started my placement within the equipment, facility, utility and cleaning team. And I think why I really loved almac as a placement for my placement was you're given so much responsibility. You know, you're not treated as a placement student, you're treated as anybody else in the office. So I actually got the opportunity to be a validation lead on a lot of projects. And one of my projects involved supporting the factory acceptance testing for a high-risk piece of equipment, which was actually used to overprint variable data like expiry dates and serial numbers onto cartons. And part of this was going to Italy for a week to support the testing. And as Aaron mentioned, I was lucky enough as well to get a permanent post after completion. So I knew this before going back to do my final year within my master's degree. So I'll kind of give you like an overview of the department, Aaron, if you just want to go to the next slide. So, are we missing a slide? We might be missing a slide, but it's just kind of an overview of where we kind of sit within technical quality. So I have been in your position and I know searching for placements can be a bit overwhelming. And I know there's loads of roles within pharma industries, some of which you may have never heard of, technical quality probably included in that. So kind of an overview of where we sit is that we're part of the wider quality assurance group. So you have the quality department, which is then split into site quality, technical quality, and global quality, which Hazel and Alistair will touch on later. Technical quality is then further divided into sub-teams. So we have a group manager, and then we have 4 teams. So we have equipment, facilities, utilities, and cleaning, which I'm part of, computerized system validation, manufacturing process, and packaging process validation. And then within these teams, they're all headed by a team leader. And then we're basically a mixture of specialists, officers, placement students, and seniors as well. So, and then in terms of where our backgrounds are, you know, when it comes to recruiting, we basically look for those who have degrees within the technical discipline. So that is science, engineering, IT, any of such degrees. Or kind of alternatively, if you have significant experience in pharmaceutical industry as well, you know, you'd slot right in. So that's kind of where we sit as a whole. And then I know as well, once I was applying for placement, people throw out a lot of words and a lot of jargon. So validation was one. And validation basically encompasses what technical quality do. So validation, if you kind of break it down to what it means, it's the action of checking or proving the accuracy of something. So in the context of the pharmaceutical industry and technical quality, we ensure that systems, processes, equipment, facilities, utilities, anything like that are fit for their intended purpose and achieve regulatory compliance. So I'm sure with like the likes of COVID-19, you've probably heard of like FDA, MHRA, World Health Organization being thrown about. But they're basically, their guidelines and what they set in place is rooted in absolutely everything we do. And you mightn't actually notice it, but once you start to delve into regulations, you just see that how much we need to comply in order to have our license. So you'll also hear GMP, so thrown about a lot in industry, and technical quality. Basically, it's part of our job to make sure that we comply as a business with GMP principles. And to do this, we basically control all the critical aspects of the systems I mentioned there. And we do this by qualification and validation over the life cycle of products and processes. So I kind of mentioned the meaning of validation. How we basically put this into real life aspects is, I'll speak from like an equipment side. Say we got in a high risk piece of equipment, our aim is to test a failure. So what I mean by saying that is we will do thorough testing. So we'll do like installation testing, and that basically makes sure it's getting the right pressure when it comes to compressed air. We'll do operational qualification. So that makes sure that any alarms trigger when they need to. So say, for example, if you had a blistering machine, so you had a packet of painkillers, for example, what we'd do is throw in a different color tablet, or break a tablet in half, or take a couple out. And we basically would want to make sure that that machine detects those defects and rejects it at the end. And we do this right across the board, and we do this intermittently over the life cycle of equipment as well. And it's the same right throughout our systems. The main goal of doing this is you want to ensure patient safety. So within technical quality and within quality in general, everything we do is to ensure that there's patient safety at the end. So that's kind of what is validation. I am next on to why we do it. And I have kind of touched on these. So probably just to summarize is we need to ensure that we adhere to regulatory requirements, and we basically need to adhere to those because a manufacturer cannot legally market or produce their drugs without validation. So and to validate, we need to adhere to these regulatory requirements. So the drugs couldn't possibly make it to market if we didn't do this. We also need documented proof that the system complies with the requirements. So a lot of our protocols are pre-reviewed, post-approved, modified, just to keep up with these regulations. Saves cost in the long term of the system. We qualify, but we also re-qualify to make sure the system is still functioning as it was at the time of release. And that also helps in kind of identifying any issues that might be starting, so we can get those fixed. And as said, main reason being is to ensure product quality and patient safety is maintained. So that is technical quality kind of pit stop. I'll pass over to Alistair and Hazel.
Thanks, Aisling. So hello everyone, my name is Alistair Kells. I am the Global Quality Systems Manager for almac Pharma Services. I've been with the business for 20 years now. And in that time I've worked in clinical services, pilot scale API synthesis, commercial packaging, and for the last 10 or so years I've been with the quality department. So as Aaron said previously, we're seeing significant year-on-year growth within the business. And a few years ago, the senior management decided that we needed to have this global quality function within the business. And that's really an overarching function for quality within the entire pharma services business at all sites. And it's set up pretty much, as Aisling had said, we slot in within the quality function. We have a global quality group manager. And then, excuse me, Hazel and I both report to the global quality group manager. So Hazel's the global compliance, global quality assurance manager, and then we also have a regulatory compliance role. So there's a global regulatory compliance specialist. So within global quality itself, then we have the global compliance, quality systems, regulatory compliance, and vendor assurance. So Hazel also takes care of the vendor assurance aspect. Within that setup, then it's very similar to Aisling's team. We also then have leads, senior specialists, and placement students. Go on to the next slide there, please, Aisling. So Hazel, do you want to maybe chat about global compliance there?
Yeah, so I suppose just for introductions, first of all, I'm Hazel Douglas and I am the Global QA Manager. So I've been with almac for just over 16 years and actually have spent about 4.5 of those years working at the Audubon facility in the US. So plenty of opportunities within almac to change roles, move around, and you never know, you might even spend 4.5 years working in the US at one of our other sites at some stage. Not sure it was something that I ever really had thought was going to happen, but that's the way things work out sometimes. Suppose just to give you a bit more of a background around the global quality. Global quality is really a fairly new function for us within the business. And as we've been saying, the business has been growing and growing and growing. We currently have 4 sites within pharma services. So we were at this stage where we just needed to have sort of that global quality and a bit more oversight as to what all the sites were doing. And that's really then where our team come in. So my team looks at that compliance element, and really we're here to support the development and the growth of those global systems and standards. So we're the ones, I suppose, who sit. We do a lot around the process design and designing a lot of the systems that we have in place. And then once those systems are designed, it's really over to us again to look after the governance and the compliance and making sure that the system is performing how we want the system, making sure the sites are performing the way that we feel they should be performing against that system, and looking to make sure the system's actually doing what we need it to do. As Ashlyn had talked about, we need to make sure that we comply with what our regulations tell us we need to do as well. So there's a huge part of work working with that sort of regulatory compliance role too, to make sure that we do what our regs tell us that we need to do, but also we have a process in place that works for our business. We look at a lot of trending and reporting. We have a quality management review, which happens every 6 months. It was just last week. And again, we're pulling a lot of trends and reports, looking at a global level, but then also drilling down and looking at a site level and seeing, is there a particular site that's maybe doing very well, particular site we're seeing a few more challenges. And that's the kind of thing that we want to look at. And again, that's all helping with that governance and compliance with our process as well, and making sure the process is working the way we want it to work. And then a huge part of what we will be doing is to support continuous improvement. We want to grow the business. The business is growing at a very quick rate. We need to be there in that position to be able to support the rest of the business and to give them processes that work for them. So there's a huge amount of getting involved with all their sites, all their departments. And I think the global compliance piece gives you a really good overview of the rest of the business and what it is that we actually do.
Thanks, Hazel. So the quality systems team then really, as Hazel said, they're about facilitating growth. That's really what we're all about. We build new systems to help grow the business. We can't be pushing paper around forever. That just will never work. We're at a stage now where we have to make sure that we're getting the appropriate systems in place to manage different documentation and various different activities within the business, and that really allows us then to scale up the growth of the business. Once we have those systems in place, the systems can grow with the business, and that allows us then to have that year-on-year growth that we have. So it's a very key role within the organization. So we look at new system builds. We'll identify systems that we think we need to bring in to help with the growth of the business, and also new configurations within those systems, or improvements or fixes to current systems. So the sorts of things that we're looking at there are content management systems. So we have a system called LiveLink that manages, at the moment, we sort of dipped a toe in the water and we have some documentation in there. We have an ongoing project at the moment which will deliver in the middle of next year, where we're planning to bring all of our documentation into that content management system. So all of our procedures, specifications, work instructions, everything will be managed within that electronic system. And the system itself then has various workflows that allow the generation of new documents, review of documents, and approvals. So it means that we don't need to worry about paper within the business. We can generate a document in the system, we can approve it in the system, and the system will then route it to a specific folder where it will live out its life. And if it needs to be retired, we can retire it in the system. if it needs to be updated, then we can also do that in the system. So you can see the sort of benefits that would bring to the business, where we don't need to have a lot of people trying to manage these documents on paper, and the administration that goes with that. So it's a big win for us. One of the other key systems that we have is our TrackWise electronic quality management system. We have had 2 separate deliveries now in that system. So we're currently building our PQS into the system. So eventually we'll have all of the pharmaceutical quality elements in there. At the moment we have deviation, CAPA, product complaints, effectiveness reviews, and service complaints. And we will aim then over the next probably 4 or 5 years to have suspect analytical results, change requests, vendor assurance, and all those other items from the PQS in that system. And again, there's big wins there. If we have a deviation that happens within the business, it can be raised within that system, and it can be very quickly accessed by anybody within the business. So there's lots of collaboration that can happen on those particular documents. Workflows within the system allow review and approval of those documents. And if you have a deviation, you go and take photographs of the event, and they can be uploaded into the system and that type of thing. So big benefits to be had there. So that's the 2 main systems. And then we have a number of sort of satellite systems that sit around those, Apex applications and different sort of smaller type systems that we would have to support all those larger systems. And then the visualizations piece is really what we're dealing with there is taking the data in those systems and presenting it out. So that is sort of part of what Hazel talked about, and those visualizations help Hazel's team to be able to have a look at the data in the system and to interrogate that a bit more and to pull out the trends that Hazel will be looking at reporting. Okay, so the role itself then, it is an exciting role. Students will have the opportunity to assist with the Global Quality Systems team with the delivery and support of the required technical, project and training documentation for the delivery of quality systems. So the sort of activities here are requirements gathering, development of project design documentation, preparation of validation protocols and reports, and execution of system testing. So our requirements gathering really is where we reach out to key people in the business, your sort of key stakeholders of these systems, and we ask them what they want from the system. We'll document that, and we take that back, and that becomes our high-level requirements. We then take those high-level requirements and we develop design documentation. So that's configuration specifications, system specifications, that type of thing. So that's where we're actually generating a technical document of our requirements. That's something then that we can present to either our own information systems people, or it can go to an external contractor. And that's what they use then for the basis of developing these systems. Once the system has been developed, then students will also have the opportunity to be involved in the preparation of these validation protocols. So that's really where we're looking at end-to-end testing of the system. So we generate documents that we use to really challenge the system that's being built and delivered to us, to make sure that it gives us what we want and to make sure that it meets regulatory requirements. And then finally, the students will have the ability then to also get involved in the testing. So there's the development of the protocols, but then there's also the execution of the testing. So you could be involved in actually running through these systems end-to-end tests to make sure that the systems do what they need to do for us.
Okay, so I suppose just to give you a bit of background then as to what their student would be doing within the global compliance team. So our team will work quite closely with Alistair's team. As Alistair was talking about, they will design that computer system. But in the background then, it'll be my team too that will engage with those process users and we want to help them then to develop that global policy and procedures. Alistair's team then will create those systems that allows my team then to review that metric performance across all sites. What we're doing is really drilling down into that data and trying to look to see, is there any trends or what is it we need to formally report? And we do that using the systems that Alistair's team then has built for us. And that's where it becomes really important whenever we have the 4 different sites. We do want to see if there's any issues maybe with one site across all sites. If it's across all sites, that might give us a bit of a story that there's something's not quite right with our process, that none of the sites can manage and they're all seeing challenges. We had our quality management review last week, and our current student who is in prepared a lot of the data for that quality management review and the presentation, which is really for the senior management team and our VPs and our AMD. So there's a lot of that preparation of data, drilling down, trying to get those trends, trying to see, is there a story here, or what do we need to think about changing? What do we need to look forward to in the future as well? So there's a huge amount of work pulling that data for that management review. Support and participate in the auditing of our global processes. We want to make sure compliance with our processes, we want to make sure compliance with our regulations, and we want to check the governance to make sure that we are doing what we say we do. It's one thing writing a procedure and say we're going to do all these great things, but what we want to do as well is to go out and actually verify that we are doing what we say that we are going to do. And then provide support to the site teams. So our site QA teams, we are here in a support function to help them. We will see if they're having any issues or challenges, and then we'll maybe go and look at those processes and see if we can change those processes, make those processes better for them. Interact with Alistair's team as well to see, there's a process here. Is there something that we can do more electronically, give them a different system, make changes to some of our systems, because that would help out in the teams. And again, we are very good here trying to look forward and trying to do some continuous improvement and going back and looking and really challenging our systems to see, is there a better way that we can do this? So again, opportunity, I think, to get involved with lots of different people within the business. We aren't just sitting at looking at what we do within our team. We are the support function to the rest of the sites and to the business to try to give them those policies and procedures that work for them. So a lot of engagement with different departments, again, just gives you a bit of a broad understanding of what almac Pharma Services do as an entire business, rather than just maybe focusing on one particular area. So that's probably a quick overview of what some of our students have been getting up to.
And then I'll just kind of finish on the student mentorship program. So across kind of 3 of our sites at the moment, so the Craigavon, Dundalk and Charnwood, we have about 20 placement students doing years in the quality departments. So we kind of identified that there was clearly a demand from students to take up a placement, especially within almac. So we have went about kind of officializing a program, and this program was to give a student
Oh,
Hello.
I
Yeah.
think we've lost Ashleen there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just to give you an idea, and pretty much to finish up. We do offer a student mentorship program. Hazel or Alistair, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Are you happy to finish up there?
Yeah, and just aware of time as well, Aaron.
Yeah.
Just okay. Thanks.
Yeah, so that pretty much concludes the presentation. So now opportunity for any questions if we have any. I can't see any in the chat box. Don't know if you've had any through yourself, Catherine, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask now. And then final slide is just how to connect with us. So I'll also pop in my email address into the chat box if anybody has any particular questions. And that is our website and then all the socials as well. And we're quite active across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well for further information. So but that pretty much ties us up for today. As mentioned, I'll pop my email address in now if any students have any direct questions. But I think that's us, Catherine.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Thanks to each of you. And I think the overview was really great to actually use the industry language that you're also familiar with all of the time and breaking it down to students who are tuning in to understand what actually that involves. And each of you done that really, really well. I suppose there may be some questions around the global systems side of things. Is it a science background that you would require for that? Is it engineering, or is it a mixture of both, Alistair?
Science, engineering, and IT. Really,
IT,
really, just very quickly, what we're looking for is attention to detail, strong communication skills, the ability to understand technical documents, that type of thing.
Great.
Aisling sends her apologies. She got kicked out there at the end, so.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that, Aisling. Other things, just generally, I suppose they were specific for Alistair's positions. Just generally in terms of CV application, you went through a nice process there, Aaron, in terms of what's involved. It's the same whether you're a placement, a graduate, or job seeker generally. And I suppose just preparing for that, what are we, one or two key tips in terms of success through your process?
Yeah, the main thing is to make sure that you address, whether it's an application form or a CV, make sure you're addressing the essential and desirable criteria. If you do not address the essential criteria, you're more than likely not going to be invited to interview. So whether it's just a CV application, tailor your CV to meet the essential and desirable criteria, or it may be a specific application form which will ask you questions on each point of the essential and desirable criteria. So make sure those are addressed.
Perfect. Look, time is winding up, and I know the students are eager to get on to the next session. So for the moment, thanks to each of you for a really insightful presentation, really useful tips there at the end as well. And thanks as always for your support of DKIT and our students and graduates.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.